we're going to get into a very interesting conversation for content creators. And we want to talk about how can content creators and brands work together, but in a way make sure that creators sit on a negotiating table and win. How can you win as a content creator when you are working with different brands? I know we negotiate, you want to make some money, but there's so many objections. And we have a great panel here that's going to take us through some of the challenges that creators face and how you can win when it comes to negotiating with brands. And I want to start with Mwaniki, just a quick introduction, what you do, so that we can get this rolling.
Okay, my name is Philip Mwaniki. I'm at digital editor at Real Media Services. I've been a journalist for, should I say it, everybody here is 20, for 20 years. And yeah, so, just a bit, yeah. So yeah, as you can see, I'm 25, and great to be here. Thank you.
My name is Mbugua. I work for very many companies. So I'll just mention the one I work for, which is Saracen Create, which is a new thing we started. And I also lead another company across Africa, which is called Taga Media. Basically helps influencers get their data on themselves. Yep.
Hello, everybody. Hey. My name is Martin Githinji, aka Daddie Marto. I am a story curator, content creator, media personality, and performing artist. Glad to be here.
Morning, everyone. My name is Kennedy Mwendwa. I am aka the man with the bass. I am a creative and influence director at Essence Mediacom. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Joe. I know you deal with creators a lot. Just when you're looking for creators, what are the things that as a brand you look for? When we talk about creator brand fit, how does that look like?
So there's so many aspects that we look at, and we use a platform called Taga within the company. One of the checks we do is once we get an influencer, we do a brand fit. So basically the brand that we're trying to get on behalf of the client and these influencers. Then we look at their age, everything. There's also even costs. The platform can also predict cost. So those are some of the things that we look at from the platform, and then we also have AI in the back end to help us match us with the best influencers.
Do you have a problem with an influencer working with a competing brand?
No. So currently, say for example, one of the clients that I handle, Diageo, use another competing platform that I also run for them because I understand the platforms, how they work, in the back end. So I help them also with their platform to get the best influencers for them.
Great. Marto, you are an influencer. I know there's a conversation we'll also have. Sometimes we fire brands. You know, as an influencer, you're like, we're not going to work with this brand. But on a serious note, what do you look for as an influencer when you're going to pitch to a brand?
I think even before I start with me going to pitch to a brand, I can see Mr. Bunde over there. He's one of my very first experiences in the conversation on creator brand fit. I can't remember what year it was, but social media had just started. He was or still is a very big guy. Pale, that office at hapo hiyo barabara ya opposite State House ukienda huko. And that's Canada. And at the time I think by that time, most of the social media content creators were mostly doing Twitter, and it was just transitioning now into Facebook and Instagram. And I remember going to him and saying, by the way, I also want to try this thing. He asked for my link, opened my page. He said, hii imejaa familia na watoto, mimi nauza pombe. And that was how I probably either lost my very first job, or completely understood what creator brand fit means. Because ideally, it's not about just your numbers. One, it's about your shared values, your voice, and your audience overlap. Who are you speaking to? How genuine are you with what you shall be saying? And key question is, can my audience trust me to vouch for what this brand is speaking about? So if I'm there today, I'm about my children, and I'm doing milk, and I'm not saying that people who drink milk don't take alcohol. It's just the brand positioning. Does the brand positioning allow me to now be on the contrary and speak about something else? And again, it's all about trustworthiness, okay? And then, now to your question, when I am pitching, what do I look for? What do I ask? Of course, it is the brand relatability. What are the things that I do? What are the things that I stand for? What have I been speaking about that people will relate to and say, okay, if we hear about this from Marto, it makes sense. There are things if we hear we hear off from Marto, we'll be like, huyu analipwa. And that's what I try and avoid.
Great. Mwaniki, you wear both hats. You're an influencer, a content creator, and you also work for a brand. What is it that influencers or content creators need to do or put into consideration when they're getting into a negotiating table?
I think, okay, like you said, I wear both hats, and najua pale hashtag very media is always there. But I always believe there's something content creators can learn from the legacy brands. There's a reason they've been there for so many years. And majority of the time, that's what majority lose. The first one being credibility. You cannot be on, I come to your page and you're talking about finance, but if I check your ex, ile matusi imejaa huko, it's kind of, I mean, at some point, I have to, you can be free to do what you want, but the credibility, things like being predictable on when you post content. I've followed some few pages who somebody just goes quiet and then comes back after 3 months. You want to tell me what happened in your life and saying, I'm back, then you go again. You know, nature abhors a vacuum anyway. So by the time you're getting to the negotiating table, if I'm like Daddie Marto said with Bunde, they go to your pages, they're trying to see what it is that you have, what exactly is it that you do, and once they see that one works. But also it's understanding your own value. Probably it's cliche, but also understanding you're a micro influencer, you macro, you know. So sometimes when you sit there and Bunde has 2 million followers and I have 10, I'm not trying to pitch like he would, or like Daddie Marto would pitch. I would pitch mine. What is it that I do? What is it I'm good at? These numbers that you see may be 5,000, but I can show you I have some ROI behind my 5,000 that maybe somebody with a million or even 500,000 doesn't. So once you understand, and you understand analytics especially, it becomes your Bible. Things like Podscribe, all these data platforms that will help you, so that when you sit, you're able to say the value of my 100 views is this, and this is how I translate it to. I think that's the first thing, because majority of the time what I see with creators is somebody comes and puts 100,000 shillings on top of you, all sense goes out of the door, everything is yes, 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 yes. And then you're here maybe for the whole year. Yes, you could be broke now. I'm not saying don't take the money, but try and make sure you get the money, but you tell them on exactly how you're going to use the money, or how that collaboration is going to work on. That's the first thing I think I usually see people make mistakes.
Thank you, Mwaniki. And you're saying we leave money on the table. Ken, what mistakes do you think creators make as they get on the negotiation table?
First of all, if the creator, as my friends have said, there's understanding your brand. You yourself is a brand, right? And if you do not share into your brand values are not aligned to the brand's ethos, that's one issue. So it's not even about the money. It's about even you understanding that you yourself are a brand, and this is not just a gig. This is your job. Yeah. So you need to really take it very seriously. Another thing is, I call them, I have a Swahili word for it. It's just fluffy. It's just fluff for me here. So, as you've said, maybe Mbunde has 2 million followers, for instance, right? And that's all he has to show for it. Yeah? No offense. But the thing that influencers don't realize is, even us on this other side, they need to use data as their ammunition, right? So it's not about the red card. The red card is not the gospel. If Mbunde tells me, I want 100,000 because I have 2 million followers, so how can you back that up? You need data, right? So just adding to what you have said, the rate card is sort of a strategy, and it's based off data that you understand from your pages and from your brand.
Great. I don't want to be the one just having this conversation. I want you to start asking questions. I realize that from the previous session, you have so many questions. So we're going to do just a quick, another round of conversation, and then we'll take questions. So prepare and queue your questions. Joe, now, Ken talked about the red card. And one of the biggest challenges we've gone through is how do brands determine a red card? How do you determine how much you're going to pay a content creator? I know you love numbers, you love the data, but how do you determine? I mean, sometimes I even hear creators say that I walked in, they already determined how much they're going to pay me, or just given a contract to sign. How do you determine as a brand?
That's actually one of the hardest questions to answer, purely because it's a wild, wild west out there. And before I actually started using AI, people just used to send you numbers. And you just negotiate as unishukie na 50. Right? So it was so manual, it was so weird. But now after we got tools, I already know how much an influencer is worth, right? And this is valued off of your engagement. So I can see how much you're worth. So even when you're coming to me, I already know the offer that I'm going to give you because I can see your numbers.
Where do you see the numbers? And how do you calculate that AI tool you're talking about? How do you say that this guy is worth 50K and this other guy is worth, you've said engagement, but how does that work out?
So basically what they've done on the back end, they've quantified engagement, right? So if you think about it, even from people who do digital, engagement is likes, comments, shares, views, and whatnot. So they're all broken down and given a value. So the higher the engagement is, the higher likelihood you'll get paid more because people trust you and that's why they are engaging with you. It's very hard to get a like or a comment or a share. It's very hard. So that's why we chose that metrics to quantify that as the value. So each and every piece of content is actually given a value. So a reel, you'll see your own value there. And the beauty about the platform, it's free for creators. So you can actually see your worth. If you've been undercharging or if you've been overcharging.
Marto, I know you want to.
Nacho maker.
But let me ask you, Marto, as you get into that conversation, now you're talking about the metrics that you use without even thinking about the creator. And Marto is a brand. And Brian here is also a brand. Brian Buddha is also a brand. A click from me or a share from me, how do we equate it from another share from Marto, who is a brand? Marto, I want you to answer because I know you're already disagreeing with Joe.
Well, it's not really that I'm disagreeing. So the creative arts industry, if I might call it all that, that's from musicians, actors, content creators, anything that involves creativity. It mostly has what is known as a rate card is basically a wish list. And a wish list is what I wish I would be paid for the amount of work that I put in. And their quantification by whoever is paying you, first of all, is always based on hindio niko nayo, aka budget. Yes, I'm saying that because I'm seeing people like Faith who tell me hii ndio budget iko na tunakubali tu. And it's not because that is what my worth is at that time. It is based on what is available for the specific campaign, for one. And yes, there are two content creators who will be on the same platform doing the same pieces of content, but one content creator might be paid more than the other. One, it also goes to the value of the kind of work that they do. I remember I was here last time, I talked about you should not pay a content creator who is shooting with their phone the same way that you'd be paying a content creator who's shooting with a 4K camera, for example, you know. But you see now, that is a matter of choice. If I choose to shoot with my phone, and there are very many good phones out here that will make very credible content, if it is relatable and it goes, I mean, Kabilame started with just phone content, but can you consider the fact now that he's not doing phone content? Have you seen that? He has upgraded. Why? Because there is a reason to offer that quality as you grow and as you progress. So, how much I would want to be paid, one, is based on my costs, and two, sometimes where I am at in life, siwezi kubali. And you are free to always walk away from the negotiating table and say, this does not work for me right now. Kuna time ingine utasema, okay, considering that I have 3 other campaigns, I know how I can squeeze this in and make this work. Yes.
Great. I want us to get just a little bit just away from the red card. And know when you're working with brands, especially content creators, and you're getting on the negotiating table, brands will want to talk about what kind of content are you going to share, and there are a lot of guidelines. You know, I think Ken can get into this because you do a lot of content behind the scenes. How do we make sure that we allow creators maintain their creativity, even when the brand guidelines are there? How do you make sure that you allow creators to maintain their creativity? And who owns that content? You know, as I negotiate as a content creator, how do I make sure that I own rights to that content that I'm going to share about a brand?
So when it comes to the brand guidelines, for the brands I've worked for and I'm working with right now, we are really big on authenticity. Right? So the only reason why I would call Daddie Marto is because I know he does tech content, and tech is a key pillar on this campaign, right? So that marriage of what the creator creates, the kind of content they create, and versus the campaign itself, they have to match, right? The other point on when it comes to intellectual property right, you know, the content that I'm going to share as a content creator, who owns that? How do I negotiate just to make sure that I get the rights? So we recommend that influencers also have a legal team. Let's say someone from the legal side, because some of the contracts are pretty heavy. And those fine lines are what can determine if you own the content and the rights to your content, or the brand owns the content. So having someone who is on the legal side as well, in part of your team, just to read the contract and make sure that, give you the lowdown of the contract in simple terms, if you are not savvy with such documents, that would really help. Because at times, it's true, you can sign your life to the devil very easily. Because I've given you a 10-page document, you're like, I don't have time. So just sign, I need the money, we go.
Probably if I could add something, especially on the brand guidelines. As content creators, one of the things that we want, our job every day is to create. And that creation involves creativity. So brand guidelines should not kill my vibe. No. But they should challenge me to be more creative within constraints. Of course, I understand there are constraints and I will adhere to them. But si mimi ndio nina post. Si page ni yangu. Nasema tu, si page ni yangu. tutaongea, tutakubaliana, tuseme nina like hiyo idea by the way, lakini naona nikifanya hivi kuna vile itaweza. Because zingine zinakujanga anataka ikae hivi na page ni yako, and you know what brings your people back to your page. So brand guidelines just should not kill the vibe. Yes.
I think just to add on to that, for me now, since I'm in agency, and let's say the brand manager wants, let's say the videos that perform well are between 1 minute to 1 minute 30 seconds, right? And they want, with the way that Marto does his content, the product might be seeded in at, let's say, 1 minute point or 1 minute 20, right? So you get feedback like, I want him to mention S-hook at the beginning. That can't happen, right? So it's up to us as well to make the client understand that the way this person does their content, this is how they do their content, and this is how your brand will be seeded into their content naturally, not selling, naturally.
So there are some clients I've worked for that have a 120-page document as guidelines.
One mention tunawajua
120 pages. And every month, all influencers have to sit in for a 2-hour lecture on those brand guidelines. This is Diageo, yes. Now, there's a way you need to pour. There's a way you need to pour. You can't be seen with a cigarette. You can't be a whole 20-page document. But still, influencers are very creative around those things. So it's just how you need to be very careful about those guardrails. So look at them carefully. For us, again, every quarter we must take them through that whole document.
Good.
I wanted to say, the other thing I've noticed maybe is brands in Kenya trying to get you to become them. So I'm sure, like he mentioned Kabilame, I'm sure if it was Kenyan, na some brand angesema, mimi nataka onge, ndio nimpatie pesa. Like, this is my brand, but then the brand now wants to change you too. Yeah. And kama hata sema jina ya Marto, I'm not giving the money. Sometimes they don't even care about, sometimes they care about what they want, not exactly. They came to you because of a certain aspect, but now they want to act like that's not what brought you to the table, but now they want now to turn you into them completely. And for younger creators, sometimes, like I said, they want the money. Sometimes they're just happy to be in the table or in the room. They will agree to everything, but probably that's one of the learning processes. So you can allow that kind of a mistake, but if it can happen maybe earlier on, especially with the guys who now are the link between the brands, not to be so draconian. Sometimes in how they deal with the creators, maybe that can work, because you can decide I'm not doing this, but then everybody else says yes, then now you're just left there and you're still broke and you still want the content. But I believe, just like they mentioned, also have your own brand guidelines as a content creator.
Have your own brand guidelines. What's the question? Do we have a question there? A question here? A question there? Another question there? Someone? Okay. Here's a mic.
Yeah. Mwendwa again from Jambajet. Quick question, maybe to all of you. From my brand, whenever we engage influencers, especially the micro and nano influencers, one of the challenges we experience is that the personal branding sometimes falls a bit short. The other thing is on understanding the financial aspects, the taxes, that are now required for them to be compliant. And on the brand side, we also require some of those items for their payment, and how some of those tax implications affect the remuneration that they get at the end of the month, campaign and the like. And also, as you said, how can also some of these micro and nano influencers that may not have access to good legal services, how can they get access to people who may advise them on the contract side, the impact of intellectual property, and also navigating the exit clauses within the same contracts? Yeah, that would be my question.
We answer them immediately.
We can pick that, then after that we pick 3
Okay.
questions.
So, and I think I've interacted with that question before, where there is being a content creator, especially on the taxes bit. Now, there is being a content creator, and there is being a Kenyan. You are a Kenyan. You have expectations as far as your government is concerned. If you do not understand that at that level first, wachana hata kukuja kukua content creator. You need to understand it at that level first. Yes, we have companies, we have agencies that help some of the content creators go through that process, and that mostly works with, of course, agencies and or companies that are compliant themselves, because there are others, especially in the small business segment, where they say mimi niko na 20k, we shika hata nikupe cash ama nikutumie kwa M-Pesa, because as the nature of business goes in Kenya, that's one of the ways that it also happens. We are still in the process of formalizing as many outfits as there are possible to help in the digital content creation space. I know there are platforms that have been assisting in this. You heard from the lady from Twiva, Joy. There is also Zaumu by Verge, and many others. And there are also now outfits as far as unionization for content creators is concerned, so as to have now one-on-one conversations on finances, welfare, you know, the protocols, brand guidelines, etc. So still work in progress. And then also number 3, Juni Jumbo Jet. Wacha tu. Tutaongea baadaye. Tutaonana kwa kona. All right, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Let's get 2-3 questions. The question there. Back. So many questions. Kuna ingine hapa.
Hi, my name is Sigrid. I'm a content creator. On the having a legal team, as a micro creator, I cannot afford to have a legal team. So what are some of the things you would advise us to be cautious on? And then I also want to know, like, in Kenya, does bad publicity and good publicity really matter on your branding in working with like brands?
Yeah, done, yeah.
Do I stand up so it's easier for you? All right, cool. Yeah, so my question, first of all, good job, everyone. Fantastic insights. So my name is Sed. I'm from Zaumu. And my question is centered around something Joe mentioned earlier about knowing the value of influencers. How do you quantify the intangibles when you're talking about affinity, believability, relatability, things like that? And then also, how do you quantify that when it comes to like case-by-case basis? So for instance, you know, I might be highly relatable in the tech space or in the business space, but I'm completely useless in fashion. You know, I literally just wore a black T-shirt. So how do you...
You always wear black T-shirts, but go on.
Consistency is important. You just told us that. So how do you then value someone on the face without knowing everything else? Like, isn't it important to start objective first and then work backwards? Or is it still something that can be done preemptively? Because, you know, I know there's a means. I just kind of want to understand what the method is. Yeah, that's it for me.
I think you can check the one on good or bad
Let me
publicity.
take this one so that I don't forget.
Okay, then you check that.
So there are so many elements that we look at. So once we put in a link of your page within the platform, I have access to your data since you started. All your pieces of content are downloaded into my system. Now I'll start other checks like things like engagement rate, right? I can filter all your pieces of content from the most engaging to the least engaging. So those are some of the other data points that I'll start looking at. I can also see your viewership rate, right? So those are some of the other metrics I'll look at. I won't look at you from face value. I've already done my strategy. I know what I need to do. I know the kind of creators that I'm looking for. I'll tell the platform, listen, I'm looking for people in sports and fitness. I can even weight male versus female in terms of their following. So all those data sets, I can get them, and AI will help me select and validate everyone.
On the good and bad publicity, I think bad publicity will always take its toll on you, whether you like it or not. People tend to think I'm liberal, I'm young, and everything else, but understand your audience is also growing up. So maybe the audience that likes whatever you're doing now, in a year, you'll not be shocking them anymore. They'll just look at you as crass. But also, if the bad publicity sometimes is directly linked to you as a brand, it's a problem. So if you make mandazis and then you're not, everybody now complaining that you do not deliver and you take money and you go, that business dies. Also, if you're always insulting other people, or just anytime I'm looking for a mess, I start coming to your platform, you're now, the mess now is overshadowing your brand. So I'm not saying you become holier than thou, but understand that even these brands also have, they have an image to keep, they have guidelines, and they have shareholders who sometimes are our own parents, and everybody wants a brand to keep to a certain way. We've seen Elon Musk right now literally he's the biggest name right now, probably publicity every day across every global platform, but his brand is suffering. So I don't think you can decide, I'll just do whatever I want because this is my brand. That will not necessarily work in the long run.
And also,
long run.
And also, even me from the tech space, there are scores that you're actually given by the platform based off of your profanity, nudity, all those things. So it's decreasing your score. So if I'm looking for a perfect fit for a certain brand, you won't be there because you're in the red. So I've already seen all that information. It will even filter those photos that you're in, because we have all your historical data.
And then, sorry, let me just add to that. And then also, remember that bad publicity for an individual works different, because it's very hard to shed it off if you get it as an individual. You know, a company like Safaricom might have gone through a very bad period at some point, and then it recovers and people forget and move on. But then when it's Daddie Marto, they'll be like, ule manyali nini, alafu akanini, unamjua, uyo achana na yeye. Yet it happened like 6 or 7 years ago. And then now to your other question on contracts, the things to check out for, probably a few things that I just listed that I can quickly run through. When you're at the negotiating table, just watch out for these common mistakes. Don't quote until you specifically understand the full scope of work that you're expected to do. Do not accept exposure of a structure. Please. Do not accept like, itakufanya ukwe. Do not accept exposure of a structure. And then do not go in without understanding usage rights and exclusivity. Okay, especially those who are given contracts where they are told we shall own your contract. I mean, you shall own your piece of contract for the rest of your life in perpetuity. Yet they're only going to pay you once. Also, ensure you understand payment timelines. Okay, ensure you understand usage rights. Where is it going to be used? For how long? Exclusivity clauses, like, you know, whether I am allowed to work with, using an example, if I'm allowed to work with Safaricom and both also work with Airtel, who are competing clients. Of course that doesn't work. I'm using it as an example since we are here and we are looking at Safaricom hook. So of course, understand very well, because there are brands who will say we are smaller, we do not mind competing in the same space on your platform for as long as, you know, you have to party a bit more. And then last but not least, yes, a deliverable list and an exit clause. An exit clause is important for you to know. Kikiumana, hii kazi ninaondokea aje. Kikiumana, wao watanitoa aje. Those are some of the things to look out for.
Sorry, a question for Daddie Marto actually. I give you a contract today to Malizane. can it be in your contract that after 1 year you can delete my content?
So that's my prerogative. I'll choose whether I will want to do it after a year or not. There are some who specifically say, I need this content to be up for this period. I know for myself, I give it depending on one, the nature of the client, the size of the client, the amount of money they paid me. I know I will say, wewe nitakupatia 6 months. After 6 months, it's up to me to choose whether to delete it or not. Kama nilieka content na ikaenda viral iko na 4.5 million, sitoi. Hiyo inasaidia page yangu na metrics. Yeye akikuja kuangalia anaona kuna ka video hapa likapata ka 4.5. Lakini kama nilifanya moja, unfortunately ilikuwa ile time bolt ilikuwa na scandal, alafu hiyo ikatwango hiyo time after 5 months and 29 days it is out. Yes.
Great. Let's just get one more question. I can see just one more question. There's a question behind you. Okay. Just one more question.
Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm a content creator and model. I have 2 questions to Daddie Marto. Sorry, they're just short. To Daddie Marto and to Joe. You talked about metrics, analytics and all, but a creator can have amazing content, but the algorithm just decides, I don't like you. So like the content over time can be really, really good, but the algorithm just decides otherwise. So are there other factors that you look at apart from like numbers and like their engagement? And to Daddie Marto, okay, personally, I've never had to present my own contract. So are creators allowed to send like agencies and brands your own contracts so that you guys can like align with theirs and yours? And what's this thing for agencies not returning their contracts on their side? Like they sign it on their end. They just tell you, sign this, ututumie, lakini they don't send you back a signed contract. So you're not really like, you've agreed, but they'll tell you, we didn't sign your contract, so you can't take me anywhere. So, yeah.
So in terms of the metrics, and that's why I talked about one of the platforms that I use, which is Tagger. Once you upload there, the creator also gets a free profile, and you can actually see all your historical data. Then you can rank it from a point of engagement, and to rank the best performing. So you start understanding your audiences. You will start seeing a pattern. So I'll give you an example. One example. There's a time, what's her name? Joy Candy came to see me in the office. And she noticed for a period of time, her metrics were really bad. So there's a platform we usually use called the Later Blog, where we just check the latest algorithms, what's happening, because algorithms change every single day. So you might be doing something against the algorithm. So I keep reading about it. So it's called the Later Blog. It will give you all the best tips. So what we noticed is one of our clients had mandated her to put a hashtag ad at the beginning. Ever since we looked at all that content, her content was going down because every time everyone thinks she's paid. She went and terminated her contract, and her page started recovering. So understand, just go look at what's happening, what's working with people, what's getting the most engagement. Ask yourself why. Look at how you shot it, what you did, and that will help you improve on your content.
True, especially on the algorithms, just to add on to that. And then, so sometimes you get lucky where your piece of content just goes, it hits the ground running. Sometimes it, of course, takes a bit of time. Some even take 8 years. Like by the time we were getting to know the famous, oh my guys are ballers, I think that was a video that was done like 10 years before now, you know? So the algorithm is very unpredictable, but there are ways in which you can be very specific about what is happening to your page at that time. Secondly, on the contracts. So far, I have not been able to send any of my contracts to clients other than, small businesses who do not have any drafts that they have already in place. But most agencies or companies have a legal team that send you their contracts. Now, what you are allowed to do is to scrutinize the contract and highlight specific clauses that you want conversations on, and do not let go until you're fully agreeing on those specific clauses. usikubali kama you're not comfortable, because once you commit yourself to the contract, that is it. As far as the client sending back the contract, I'll take you back to being a Kenyan. If you do not have your contract back, you are not in engagement. Unless wame reply WhatsApp na wakaweka tiki ya emoji. That one is recognized by law. But for as long as you do not have, communication is from me to you and then from you to me. Imerudi. Until you get back that contract, you're not in business. Kuna wale, it depends as well. Is it somebody who you have established a business relationship with that you know there is a way things have been going so far? If it's somebody new, be very skeptical. If it's somebody you already have an ongoing business relationship with, you can say, okay, kuna pressure sahi, wacha nianze kazi, nitapata contract. But in most cases, always get your contract back. Yes.
In terms of the performance of the content, I advise a couple of influencers or the guys I talk to actually follow these CEOs of, let's say, Instagram, Twitter. Okay, Twitter is X. Like those guys actually give people tips of what is new with this update, what will perform best on your platform. All those things are available for you. So it's you to actually now get curious enough and just notice that if you notice that your content is not performing, go and look for information. Information is readily available. So all these things are everywhere. So it's up to you now to actually take the initiative to look for this information.
Yeah, actually, that later blog, if you go into it, it has on all the platforms what's happening, what you can transact, the kind of songs that you need to put in that are going viral that week. So those are some of the tips you will get from that blog. Yep.
Great. We're completely out of time. I know this gentleman will be around. When you take a break, look for them, have a conversation with them. Let's sustain this conversation about winning on the negotiating table. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, awesome.